and start the sharing.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, to our 2026 Candidates Forum. We have a nice turnout. I appreciate that. And we have, Brittany, do we know how many are online?
Got about a dozen or so people online.
Very good. Very good. So my name is Richard Chu, and I am the chair of the Elections Committee. In the white, we have Katie Boswell, who is the vice chair. Paul Thomas to my left, who is a recent appointee to the committee. We have Dorothy Hoffman online on the Zoom joining us. Gordon Simonet should be wandering in at any time. He's
online.
He works for a living, so he's dealing with traffic to get here. So before we start, I just wanted to clarify an issue. One of the issues, there's always many of them, but one of the issues in the last couple of days, some people have received their ballots. Voting does not start until 5 p.m. on Friday. Then we have a new counting agent. The counting agent was made aware by RA of the problems that we've had in prior years with ballots arriving late. So the counting agent, considering that input, talking to the post office, and doing what they thought was the best thing to do, took ballots to the post office to be mailed. Either unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, they were either efficient or inefficient. But they mailed the ballots. Now, let me assure everybody, you cannot go online and vote until 5 o'clock on Friday. You could, if you or so want, mail your ballot in tonight, tomorrow, whatever's your convenience. That vote, if it arrives at the counting agent, will not be counted until after 5 o'clock on Friday, the 27th. So no harm, no foul. If you choose to vote without taking advantage of the input that you're going to hear from the candidates tonight, that's your prerogative. But you can hear the nice comments that you get tonight and turn around and fill out your paper ballot and put it in the mailbox tomorrow, and it will not count until Friday after 5. So the good news is we should have preempted anybody getting ballots late, which is better than people getting them early. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Katie Boswell, who will start peppering you with questions.
Sort of. Hi, good evening, and welcome to the Reston Association's 2026 Candidate Forum for the Apartment Owners Representative at Large and Lake Ann Tall Oaks District seats. My name's Katie Boswell. I'm the Vice Chair of the Reston Association Election Committee, and on behalf of the committee, I'd like to thank everyone for attending tonight's forum, whether you're in person or you're here virtually. In the upcoming election, members will vote to fill 3 seats on the Reston Association Board of Directors, 1 apartment owners representative for a 3-year term, one at-large member for a 3-year term, and one Lake Ann/Tall Oaks district for a 2-year term. The election, as Richard said, will open this Friday, February 27th at 5 p.m. and will remain open till Tuesday, March 31st at 5 p.m. Paper ballots have been mailed. Some of you have them, some of you don't. The rest of you will get them soon, and members will begin receiving them since we'll have them by the end of the week. Members can cast their votes either online or by mail. Many people have already gotten emails asking if you would also like to have your ballot by email, and then you'll get a follow-up email this Friday. A quorum of 10% is eligible of eligible members is required for each open seat to make sure that this election results are valid. So that means, just so that we're all clear, the apartment owners representative needs 10%, the at-large seat, so all of Reston needs to be 10%, Lake Ann Tall Oaks for that district needs to be 10%. As a Virginia non-stock corporation, Reston Association is governed by the Board of Directors elected by its members. The board is responsible for setting policy, approving the association's budget, and evaluating the chief executive officer, among other duties outlined in the association's governing documents. This evening, you will have the opportunity to hear directly from the candidates regarding their perspectives on community issues. The Elections Committee has received questions in advance, which will be presented to the candidates. Given the limited time, questions submitted in advance will take priority. If time permits, we may take additional questions from the floor. There are rules with that, though, as there are rules with everything. The rules for the members asking questions from the floor are as follows. The first is that questions must be relevant for all candidates. The second is that members posing questions live live have at least 10 seconds to ask and speak, but no longer than that. So less words. Questions must be posed in the form of a question as opposed to a statement and must be open-ended. And no question constituting a personal attack on any candidate will be allowed. Okay, we're going to go to opening remarks.
Yeah. 1 second. We were remiss in acknowledging that in the back corner of this room is Peter Lusk, our new CEO, our acting CEO. So he's taking notes on our performance, and I guess we'll get a report card tomorrow. With that, I'll turn it over to Paul.
Excellent. Each candidate will get 3 minutes for their opening remarks. And just a heads up, we will rotate so that each candidate has the opportunity to answer first during the question and answer period. For opening remarks, we will begin with the apartment owners representative candidate, Margaret Perry.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Margaret Perry, and I currently serve as the apartment owners representative on the Reston Association board. It is my hope that tonight you gain a clear sense of who we are as candidates, and more importantly, how we intend to support both the RA members and the dedicated staff who keep our community running. I encourage you to reach out to us to ask questions and get clarification throughout the election process. I am running for re-election because I believe in a balanced, thoughtful approach to leadership. While my specific seat represents apartment owners, I want to be very clear. When I sit at the board table, I keep every single member of the Reston Association in mind. We are living in a time where costs are rising for everyone, RA included. Because of this, my priority is centered on fiscal realism. We must focus our resources on maintaining and improving our current facilities where it is both necessary and reasonable. For example, a recent survey showed that our members prioritize maintaining what we already have. If we look to expand, we must have a concrete plan for how to pay for it without overburdening the membership. I will once again advocate for quarterly assessment payments to help residents manage rising costs. While this was previously dismissed based on the assertion of a single board member that there was no interest, I remain convinced that offering this change is the right thing to do for our neighbors. At a minimum, I want a report from staff on the pros and cons of this transition. To be clear, this would be for all members and separate from the existing assistance programs we already have in place. We must rely more on the expertise of our professional staff, whether it's our 3 arborists, 2 of whose positions are currently vacant, or our management team. The board's role is policy and strategy, not micromanagement. I am committed to a culture of civility and professionalism. We need a stable environment that attracts and retains talent rather than a boardroom defined by grandstanding and personal attacks. I am also a firm believer in the future of Reston. My strategy for growth along the Dulles Road Toll Road corridor isn't about making demands, it's about collaboration. I will continue to encourage staff to meet with developers to show them the tangible benefits that RA membership brings to their future residents. While the apartment owners are the only members permitted to vote for my specific seat, I am here tonight because the decisions we make impact every member of Reston Association. I am here to be a part of this important conversation and to ensure all members understand my vision for our future as we work together to keep Reston a vibrant place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Farrell.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thought we were going down.
I'm using the list in front of me.
I'm John Farrell, and I'm running for re-election as an at-large member of the Reston Association Board of Directors. Thanks to your support in 2023, during my first term on the board,
Mr. Farrell, your mic.
oh, I'm sorry, thank you. We have professionally surveyed the RA members to know their desires for recreational facilities. We have completed site assessments on every RA facility to learn how to responsibly extend their useful life and properly budget for their preservation. We have led the opposition to a Reston casino. We have eliminated fees for member pool passes and extended pool season and hours. We have reopened the Lake Thoreau and Shadowwood pools. We've added heat to the Audubon pool. We added Winterfest, an annual holiday community gathering. We've made Hook Road and Running Cedar Little League fields safer. We've advocated that all Metro station housing join RA. If the 3,000 new station units joined RA, your annual assessment would drop by about $120. We should not be subsidizing those developers. That's a lot. We can do even better for our quality of life. Over the next 3 years, with your help, I will pursue continued opposition to a Reston casino, opposition to redevelopment of either Reston National or Hidden Creek golf courses, sound fiscal and capital management that extends the life of RA facilities while keeping assessments reasonable, strong professional and cooperative management that puts member customer service as RA's highest priority. I have supreme confidence that Peter Lusk, our acting CEO, Ed Vroom, our chief financial officer, Tony Champ, our general counsel, Cam Adams, our head of covenants, Laura Kowalski, our head of aquatics, and Kara O'Donnell, our head of communications, will continue to improve the member experience for all 63,000 members over the next several years. I will also pursue dedication of the Central Green and Town Center North for the benefit of RA members, environmental policies that protect our 1,350 acres of open space and 55 miles of trail. I will pursue extension of the pool season, expansion of pool hours to enable all RA members to enjoy these essential amenities. I will pursue zoning positions that are shaped by the members' input to enhance our community. I will pursue new residential development join us to spread the cost of RA facilities and programs over all the homes that enjoy them. I ask for your vote to enable us to continue to do better. Let's expand Reston's quality of life. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Mr. Lynch?
Good evening, Reston. My name is Dayton Lynch. I'm running for at-large director. Reston is where I live, coach, and work, and raise my family. I'm running for at-large director because the board must function with discipline, professionalism, and unity, not dysfunction, so that our families receive the best value for every dollar of our assessments. When governance breaks down, credibility suffers. And when credibility suffers, our relationships with Fairfax County and other partners weaken. Reston does not operate in isolation. To fulfill our potential as a community, we need a board that works collaboratively, restores strong external relationships, and focuses on members first. I'm honored to be endorsed by 5 past Reston Association presidents: Karen Anton, Kathy Baum, Julie Bitzer, Kathleen Driscoll, and Andy Siegel. Their leadership helped build the Reston we value today, and their support reflects my commitment to steady, team-oriented governance. From that foundation, my priorities are clear. Oppose a casino in or near Reston at every stage. Permanently protect our golf courses from development. Exercise strong fiduciary responsibility and keep assessments as low as reasonably possible by diversifying revenue through partnerships, sponsorships, and grants. And innovation, I'll add. Explore responsible, data-driven opportunities to expand services, including year-round indoor recreation that serves all members based on feasibility. Reston was built on shared amenities and shared responsibility. With focused governance and strong partnerships, we can protect what makes Reston special and ensure our community reaches its full potential for my family and yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kennan?
Thank you. Thank you to RA for hosting this forum and to the audience for watching tonight, whether in person or online. I'm running for the Lake Ann and Tall Oaks seat because this community is my home. The history of Reston and how that history manifests itself now is what drew me to move here almost a decade ago. Reston was founded on a bold idea that thoughtful planning and a genuine sense of community could create a place where people of all backgrounds thrive together. My vision to protect and renew that promise and to help build an understanding of the importance of the Reston story with our new residents. I've lived on Lake Ann for nearly a decade and currently serve as president of my cluster association. So I understand how RA board decisions translate into real impacts at the neighborhood level. I also understand how to make a board run effectively and efficiently because I've prepped materials, driven the agenda, and built consensus in my own cluster association. At the same time, my experience in senior roles at institutions like the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and the U.S. House of Representatives means I've managed large budgets, led complex initiatives, and aligned diverse stakeholders at the highest levels. I'm not learning governance on the job. I'm bringing that experience home to serve Lake Ann and Tall Oaks. 3 priorities drive my campaign. First, protecting and maintaining the amenities and infrastructure that make Reston special. Pools, pathways, green spaces, lakes, through proactive investment rather than deferred maintenance. Second, responsible fiscal stewardship, transparent budgeting, sound reserve planning, and equitable prioritization of capital projects so that every member dollar is managed with care. Third, environmental stewardship, protecting Reston's tree canopy, improving stormwater management, and ensuring our natural assets are preserved for future generations. This includes opposing any development of the Reston golf courses and the building of a casino. We need to protect our green spaces and our character. These aren't abstract goals, they reflect what I hear from neighbors every day. I want residents to feel they have a voice on the board. That means getting out in the community, attending the Lake Ann Farmers Market, showing up to neighborhood events, and making sure my votes reflect what I'm hearing from the people I represent. I want a Reston where every resident, regardless of where they live, feels the association works for them. Reston is my home and not by accident. I grew up in Northern Virginia and chose Reston deliberately, drawn by its history, its values, and its green spaces. I'm running because I love this community and I believe it deserves board members who combine real governance experience with genuine neighborhood investment. If elected, my door and my email will always be open.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nathan Phillips. I'm running for the seat to represent Lake Ann and Tall Oaks. Honestly, I have an unconventional first minute. I actually wanted to turn to the election committee, and I wanted to thank you, but instead, and I hope I don't embarrass you, but I did want to say Thank you, Brittany. You have done such an incredible job. It's clear to me that the committee's in great hands. You have done things so efficiently. I've never had questions. And when I did, you were very quick to respond. So thank you very much. The other half of this minute, I want to say thanks again to the Reston Citizens Association. If you have not heard of or have not joined this organization, they do incredible work. They're very small, but very efficient and very effective. So please, in fact, check them out if you have not already. So again, I'm Nathan Phillips. I'm running for the Lake Ann Tall Oaks district seat. I have a couple priorities. Okay, first and foremost, my few priorities, right? So I want to make sure that the utility of every single dollar given to the Reston Association is experienced and felt by those who are paying it, right? These are decisions we're making. These are dollars that we are spending that needs to be clear and obvious to every single resident. The second thing is to bring those who are not members into the folds. If we experience the same services, we're experiencing the same Reston, therefore, we all ought to be members. The third is that the golf courses and our green common spaces remain maintained in perpetuity. And finally, I want to see a change to the cultural norm where assessment increases happen every year, okay? And I know that I can lead this seat from experience, right? I've worked in state and federal government for almost 15 years. I've worked hourly jobs. I've served in the military, forward deployed. And I think I have the grit that it takes to serve. That is the discipline I will bring to the board and the standard which I'll hold. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pardo.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Ramon Pardo, and I'm running for the seat on the Board of Directors for Reston Association because I genuinely care about this community and the people who call it home. Reston isn't just where I live, it's where my roots are. I've lived in Reston since 1981. 4 generations of my family call Reston home. This community has shaped my life, and it continues to shape the lives of my children and my grandchildren. That long-standing connection gives me both perspective and a deep sense of responsibility. The Reston Board of Directors exists for one fundamental reason: to serve its members. The board should be the voice of the community, not the other way around. If elected, I will approach this role with that principle front and center. Your concerns will be my concerns. Your priorities will guide my focus. I currently serve on the Reston Design Review Board, where I've had the opportunity to help preserve the architectural integrity and thoughtful planning that make Reston unique. That experience has reinforced for me how important it is to balance innovation with preservation, honoring our founding vision while adapting responsibly for the future. In addition, I'm the founder of Reggae on the Lake, a community fundraiser created to bring neighbors together while directly supporting initiatives that benefit our local community. That event reflects something I strongly believe. When we come together with purpose, we build more than programs, we build connection. Professionally, as a real estate professional, I have built my career around listening carefully, communicating clearly, and helping people navigate important decisions. I understand how much our homes mean to us, financially and personally. Protecting and enhancing our community protects all of that. It also must be noted that I currently sit on 2 board of directors, Great Falls Reston Soccer and National Capital Soccer League, where I coach 11 and 12-year-old boys, another way of giving back to the community. I believe strong communities are built on transparency, accountability, and approachability. Homeowners deserve clear communication, responsible financial stewardship, fair and consistent standards, and leaders who are accessible and willing to listen, even when opinions differ. At the end of the day, this is about service. It's about showing up, doing the work, and making thoughtful decisions that reflect the best interests of the entire association, both today and for generations to come. I would be honored to earn your trust and support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Greg McCandless wasn't able to make it here this evening. Richard will be reading a statement that he submitted.
I won't pretend to be Greg. Greg is the current board president at Mercer Condos here in Reston, and they fortunately or unfortunately have a board meeting tonight. So Reston has been part of Greg's life for decades. He grew up here, went to school here, and later had the privilege of raising his family here. That connection has given him a deep appreciation for what makes Reston special. Our green spaces, our neighborhoods, and the sense of community that continues to bring people together. His involvement in community governance has always come back to a few simple principles: transparency, collaboration, and thoughtful stewardship. He believes that good leadership starts with listening, asking questions, and working respectfully with others to reach decisions that our community that serves our community well. He's also learned through community service that fairness, consistency, and thoughtful listening are essential to building trust and helping neighbors feel confident in the decisions that impact their homes and daily lives. Greg values resident engagement as well. Conversations among neighbors, participation in forums like this one, and the willingness of residents to step forward and serve all help keep Reston strong and vibrant. Greg believes that Reston is at its strongest when conversations remain respectful, perspectives are welcomed, and residents feel confident that their voices and ideals matter. No matter the role that we serve in, he believes our shared goal remains the same: preserving what makes Reston unique and governing in a way that builds trust, encourages participation, and supports our community for the long term. Okay, questions?
Okay, each candidate we're going to go to the questions section. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the following questions. We'll be taking time whenever we're mixing it back, so just look at us and we'll let you know if you're going too long. The very first question, we'll start with you, Mr. Farrell, just so that you know, and then we'll come down the line. Okay. There are two parts to this question. The first one is, how many board of director meetings have you attended or watched? And the second part is, how would you work to improve those meetings? For instance, how can they be made shorter or more effective? Mr. Farrell.
So I can't tell you how many board meetings I've been to, because I've been to every board meeting, I think, since one, since I was joined the board. I believe it was May of 2022. Prior to that, I'd been to several board meetings. I think that our board can, let me back up. For all of the time, for the 40 years I've lived here, and for all of the time I've watched RA board meetings, they've all been long. I've seen board meetings that have gone very late, but if we can have board members who come prepared and have reviewed the binder that we get, which is about this thick, Friday before the board meeting, and then circulate motions they want to make, we can move along a lot faster.
Mr. Lynch.
Oh, this is a terrific question, because what I've been hearing out in the community is that board meetings are too long. I've watched several of them, not all of them. I have a family, right? A young family. Can't stay up all times of the night watching these board meetings. And it's tough for a lot of Restonians who see the traffic just outside of there, to be able to come home after a long day at work, kids' activities, and labor through a board meeting that's gone over what normal board meetings in the world, the time they would normally spend. So I think I think it's dysfunction from the board meetings I've seen, from what I've heard. There's not there's not enough cooperation, enough teamwork. Issues don't get put to bed once people have decided where their position is, and you're not going to win the day all the time, right? Everyone represents members of this community. You have good conversations, and once you see your point is on the record, you move on, and you have to get to the work. So I like to watch way more board meetings, but I think the reason I'm endorsed by 5 past RA presidents is because they understand that I understand that. And if I'm elected, board meetings will be short, respectfully short if they need to be, only long if they need to be. We'll get out of there, we'll be able to see our kids, see our families, and maybe even watch a show before bedtime. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Ms. Cannon?
Thank you. I've watched several board meetings. I think it's important to know what you're signing up for, right? They are quite long. I had the same experience when I took over as board president for my cluster. And one of the things that I have found particularly helpful in shortening those meetings is setting a tone ahead of time. We approach our conversations now as a board as community members who are prioritizing our home and who want what's best for our home and our neighborhood. It's easy for emotions to get high when you're talking about your home, but I think approaching from a position of everyone has the best interests of the community at heart. All of us here want what's best for our community. And so coming into that with that perspective, I think is important.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
I've seen a total of 1 board meeting. And so how many have I seen? So my takeaway was it seems like a competing battle between who was right and dysfunction. And the draw to seeing which would win out was not appealing enough to see another. I think that there is there are a number of solutions, some more simple than others. I think that if it is in fact the case that materials are too extensive beforehand, like 10 bullets is fine. Whatever, it seems to me that it could be the case that they're trying to take on too much and at least more than they can handle. And simplifying the process, not being bogged by protocol, to ease everyone's suffering, then perhaps that's the right way to go. But until we get someone on the board with the will to do that, then, or at least the initiative to do it, then perhaps we should buckle up and sit around for a few more hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cardo?
Thank you. This is a good question, actually. With my experience with youth soccer board of directors, I know how long meetings can be arduous. I would just focus on higher level governance. So as a board of director, I would push to not get into the minutia of agenda items, but rather what's important and if there's something that needs to be voted on, let's put that up front. But certainly we need to keep the perspective of high level governance and not get too far into operations. So I would like to collaborate with fellow board members and work towards a more efficient board meeting each time we come to the board, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Ms. Perry?
So as far as how many meetings I've attended or watched, I also have been on the board since 2022, 2023, somewhere in there. It's been a long time. There have been a few that I've missed for various reasons. We do have personal lives. I will say the one meeting that I attended while I was in Spain, and it was 3 a.m., was a long one. But in general, I've seen many iterations. So I have been on the board when we had 2 board meetings a month plus multiple committee meetings. This past year, we voted to keep it at 1 meeting a month, except for during certain times. So budget season, we have more than 1 meeting a month to make sure that we address the budget completely and accurately as best we can. There has been improvement. I will say the last 4 months, they were long meetings due to executive sessions, and I can't say more than that. But in general, I feel that we have tried to get through things faster. I think that our current board president, although as we all do, has room to grow, the reality is he did step in and he did try to enforce 2 bites at the apple. And he did try and enforce certain Robert's Rules of Order that assist with these things. Has it been perfect? Absolutely not. Do we have room to do better? Of course we do. But I do think we are on a better path than we had been, and I hope to continue on that path in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Perry.
All righty. Question number 2, and we'll be starting with Mr. Lynch on this one. So I'm going to articulate 2 parts to this question. You can address one, the other, or both if you want to. So you can sort of cherry pick whatever floats your boat. Part 1, how, if at all, should the RA board be involved in land use matters related to non-covenanted property? So parts that are not actually members of RA currently. And part 2, why should new developments join RA?
Well, that assumes, I think, they should from the beginning. To answer this question, I'll say first, in terms of land use, I know there's been controversy in the past about land use committee. It was dysfunctional. It missed the boat in a lot of different categories. But the way I answer this question is, first, we should be involved in the things that protect our interest, but we should keep it very narrowly tailored to our services that we're offering to current members. When it comes to land use, the only land use topic that think we should address right now is protecting our golf courses. Anything beyond that, I'm only interested in protecting at this stage our members. I'm open to discussion, though, with the board, looking at feasibility, seeing what's necessary if new developments come into play. I hope they don't right now, because I think we have a lot going up around us, and I would much prefer that. Is that time? I would much prefer that we focus on what we have now and who we're serving now.
Thank you. Ms. Cannon?
While I think it's important for us to focus on what we have now and who we're serving now, I also think that the new development we're seeing in this area is an additional drain on resources. It's people who are taking advantage of some of the things that Reston has to offer without contributing to the maintenance of them. People are coming in the TSA area who are using our walking paths. They're enjoying our lakes. They're enjoying our green spaces, and they're not contributing. So I think as a matter of equity, we need to make sure that we are doing what we can to reach out and bring new membership in. And part of that means, I think, going to individual residents and bringing folks in who want to participate in some of the things we have to offer, like pool passes and summer camps, bringing in additional revenue there. But I also think we need to find a way to negotiate more effectively with the county to bring new developments in TSA in. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Yes, bring them into the fold. That's my position. I mean, we are looking for a bigger Reston. I mean, everything's growing. If costs are growing, then so should our community. The more people we have, the more perspectives, the more experiences, the more interests, the more incentives. I think it's a net benefit. By force, no. I think it's by consensus, and whether that means opening up new lines of communication, great. But there is a process, and certainly not going to happen overnight. In terms of why they should join Reston, I mean, do you live here? It's an amazing place. It's great. I mean, there's so much to do. There's the community in of itself is spectacular. I think that, you know, being in the area, the community speaks for itself. I think that the incentives are there. So, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Pardo.
Yes, land use is a very good topic to discuss. I think it's very important that Reston Association be involved in land use, but to what capacity? In other words, there's only so much we can do depending on what kind of property it is or if it's deeded to Reston or not. So I would be careful not to put too much resources into something that we can't control ultimately. But I will say that we should be pushing for new development, residential development, to be joining Reston Association simply because they are using our facilities. They're going to be using our walking trails, our green space, our lakes, and I think that they should share the assessment. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Ms. Perry?
As some know, this has been a topic of the boards for a while now in different capacities. And do I think we should be aware of land use issues on non-coveted properties? Yes. Do I think the board and our members can have an opinion on those? Potentially. There are times when it does help for us to use our voice as one community to say to the county, these are our concerns, these are our desires, this is where we would like to see this go. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Thankfully, we have a land use staff person. She is young and she is excited and she wants to do a great job, and she has some wonderful mentors within RA to help her get to that place. And should new development join? The answer is yes, but we cannot go at them with an iron fist.
Thank you. Mr. Farrell?
A lot of folks may not know is that every homeowners association in the rest of the county is involved in land use through the land use committee of that magisterial district. For many years, RA did not involve in that process. And as a result, we got 3,000 houses that aren't joining RA, and there was not even a letter saying, please join RA. That's despite the fact that our comprehensive plan says that all new housing should join RA, or Reston Town Center Association. So one of the other parts that people may not be appreciative of is the golf courses are not part of covenanted land. So if we're not going to get involved in non-covenanted land, that means we take a pass on the golf courses. I don't agree with that. As few as 150 people are involved in the McLean Citizens Association, and yet they have an overwhelming input into the land use decisions made around Tyson's. We have 63,000 people here. We need to exercise that voice to shape the community we're going to live in. Thank you.
Okay, for our third question about equity. It would help if I turn that on. What will each of you do to ensure equity for Restonians across all income levels? For instance, should RA assessments remain a flat rate, or should they be tied to property value, income level, or some other factor? We're going to start with Ms. Cannon.
Thank you so much. That's a great question. I think that tying RA rates to income level or property value would put us in a very challenging position in terms of drawing the lines there. What I think is more important for us to do is to do everything we can to improve outreach into the community. We need to connect more with our renters in the area who are a part of RA, with our low-income members. I think a lot of people just don't realize what they have that they can take advantage of and participate in, and what resources are available to them. I think what is more important is for us to get out in the community more. And I don't think that that should just be left to staff of the association. I think it is to the board members as well to do more outreach. I personally, when I announced that I was running, reached out to every single cluster association that I could in my district to ask to meet with them, because I think it's important to plug in to what's happening in the community and to get more involvement in RA and in the assets that we provide. Thank you.
Mr. Phillips?
Sure. So in terms of changing the rate to reflect property value is a terrible idea. Not that it was yours, but it's not a good idea. In fact, I think it drives more inequity than it does equity, right? Because then we're in a situation where we ask someone to pay a percentage of their property value, but then the question becomes, according to whom? Are we not any better than the Fairfax County car tax? It's like, I will take, 30 grand for my car. It's not 30 grand, but I'll take it if you're going to assess it at that value. It'll cause far more problems, I think, than it'll solve, certainly. Moreover, a far better solution than keeping it flat is to lower it. If there's such a disparity in income across the members, then perhaps the assessment fee is too high. I think Georgina is exactly right. We need to open lines of communication with each one of the members. If we're not doing that efficiently now, perhaps that's an area that we can improve. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pardo?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would agree that I believe that assessments should stay flat for everyone and equal for everyone. If you get into income-based or property value-based assessments, it's going to open up a can of worms that I think could be troublesome for the future. And I think that we just need to focus on the fact that Reston has a lot to offer every member with our facilities, with our activities that are offered by Reston Association. We need to reiterate that that's available to every member and that there's value behind their assessments. My goal is to get on the board and work as a collaboration with the board of directors and try to see if we can lower the assessment if possible. I know it sounds impossible, but maybe it's possible. So that's my goal, but I don't think that the assessments should be rated based on income or property value.
Thank you. Ms. Perry?
I believe that the assessments should be a flat rate for all. I think we need to do a better job with our outreach and our education, that we do have programs in place for our members that need assistance with paying their assessments, that it is not just you must pay and that's it, we're cutting you off, we're not talking to you. That's not how we work. That's not how our staff works. Our staff would like to help, and we have those programs available. I also have been around at the very beginning when we were lowering assessments arbitrarily and ineffectively, and eventually that will cause special assessments. And I don't believe that's what any member of RA wants, regardless of income or anything. So I would encourage us to use what we have and do better with our education and quarterly assessments.
Thank you. Mr. Farrell?
So our governing documents require us to make the flat assessment for each dwelling unit. And changing that arrangement would require an amendment to those governing documents. This issue has been looked at in the past, and one of the things that needs to be understood is that our houses, 9,000 townhouses, don't have a deviation that much in valuation as to actually make a change in how much the assessment happens. When we talk about equity, one of the things I think is important to keep in mind is we had a report from our Lake Equity Group. And recently, we directed staff to implement the recommendations of our Lake Equity Group to make our access to that lake more available to all of our members. I support that work, and I look forward to a report from the staff.
Thank you. And Mr. Lynch.
Assessments should be the same for everyone, whether or not, what property you live in, the size of your property, or your proximity to amenities. Because I do understand there have been a proposal about maybe raising fees for folks who live on the lake. Maybe they pay like a $2,500 premium, I heard, which is completely ridiculous. We should not be charging people for their proximity to amenities. I don't want someone who's, living near the Glade Pool to have to pay a Glade Pool Reston, Association tax and a turquoise trail tax. I think we have to be really careful here. I think what we need to do is diversify our revenue. We have to task staff and work diligently to find grants, sponsorships, strategic partnerships, and other ways that we can be entrepreneurial to be able to bring in more revenue. That way we can begin to stabilize assessments, maybe even lower them, and I think that's the best path forward.
Thank you.
This next question will start with Mr. Phillips, and this is about board functioning. I've recently read, and I'm paraphrasing, RA's board meetings indicate that the lines between policy oversight and governance, which are the board's core roles, and micromanagement have become blurred. Meetings are often dominated by process, delay, and second guessing. So the question, how will you work with your fellow board members to create a more effective board that is focused on policy and governance?
Yeah, so it's got to start with prep work. I mean, if that means, it's got to start with prep work, but it's also got to start with expectations from the board themselves, from the members, or from the directors. If it is impossible to get through the materials leading up to a board meeting, then it is going to be even more impossible to get through the board meeting itself. Unless we're willing to sit there for hours and hours, I would suggest giving some kind of executive summary so that those who run into circumstances where they can't get through the materials have not an easy way out, but a way to at least function with some degree of efficiency during the meetings themselves. So, and whether that means I'm doing these bulletized lists myself, and that's my service to the board in that function, then great. If it means that the board themselves need to change the processes in which they're operating, then even better. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pardo.
Yeah, it's a good question. I actually have some experience with my board of directors for the youth soccer club. We've had some issues recently with governance kind of going into operations, and that's a dangerous direction for a board of directors. I think it's very important that we maintain the high-level governance ideology of a board of directors and allow staff to do their job. That's really important to me. I'm a communicator. I'm a collaborator. My job would be to meet one-on-one with all the board members, one by one, and meet with the board collectively to work towards that goal, to maintain a high level of governance and not get into the minutia of operations.
Thank you. Ms. Perry?
I would anticipate that all 9 members that are currently on the board would say that they all only look at governance. I would also ascertain that that's not accurate. I would say that there are times when I have abstained from motions because I think they're unnecessary, that we wasted time wordsmithing and coming up with direction that was unnecessary, and that if we would allow our dedicated and experienced staff to do their job, we could just move on. So I will continue on that same path which I've been on, which is to rely on our staff to do their job.
Thank you. Mr. Farrell?
Well, I don't accept the premise of the question. And that shouldn't surprise anybody on here. We have a limitation on what we can do. Everybody reports to the CEO, and the CEO reports to the board. We have had circumstances more recently where the CEO, our acting CEO, listens to the board and is able to understand where the board is going and anticipate that. But there's been more than one occasion when one board member says this issue is operational, and another board member says, no, it's a governance issue. And it's all in the eye of the beholder. As an example of what somebody might think is operational, only the board can authorize litigation from the legal committee to go and bring an enforcement action. Well, is that operational or is that governance? I would tell you that it's governance.
Thank you. Mr. Lynch.
Well, there's one way to really solve whether it's governance or operational, right? You take a vote and then you follow the rules if it's voted, and that's one way to determine in a situation like Mr. Farrell just noted. What I would say is that the role of the RA board is to be more high-level, strategic, visionary, to trust staff who's well capable, they're ready and eager. I think when we do that, we have our right position and everybody's playing their position. I tell my son when he's playing basketball, you have to play your position, because if you're not in your position, the other team's going to score in the spot you were supposed to be, and then the entire team loses. I'm a team player. This is why I've gotten the endorsement from 5 past presidents who understand that that's how I'll work together with staff to make sure we're governing and they're operating. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cannon?
Thank you. I think it's really important for board members to come to meetings prepared and with an understanding of what's facing the board. For me, going in, I would focus on building coalitions around shared interests, shared priorities, around infrastructure and fiscal responsibility that have broad appeal across the board. I think if we come to these meetings with a better understanding of the material that we're dealing with, and we're prepared with data and options, which is something I plan to be, I want my colleagues on the board to see me as someone who does the work and who understands the material. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this 5th question, we will end up starting with Mr. Clark. Start first. So this is also a 2-part question, and it's dealing with conflict. Some have perceived that the RA board has at times had a toxic environment. How will you work with your fellow board members to ensure that toxicity stays out of the RA board? And number 2, part 2 of this, when resolving disputes, do you generally favor mediation or litigation, and why?
That's a good question. I think I speak for everyone here by saying that toxicity and a toxic environment is not pleasant. I've experienced it in many different facets of my professional life. My approach would be to approach every situation with respect for the opposing opinion. We're not all going to agree. As a board of directors, it's going to be natural that part of the board is going to have one opinion and maybe another part will have an opposite opinion. I think the key to that is to respect the opinion of your opposition and try to collaborate and work together for a common interest. I think the common interest here is to serve our members and to make Reston a better place, really, in essence. Everything else falls underneath that. So I think diplomacy would be my number one approach in terms of eliminating any sort of toxicity. And that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Perry?
These two-part questions, I must say, they fluster me. I did not bring a pen. I'm relying on my dear friend Ramon to loan me his. So I'll be honest. There have been times when my emotions and my passion have gotten the better of me in meetings. That it has happened, absolutely 100%. I have made a concerted effort to try to keep my emotions in check. And I think that at times is difficult for all of us, some more so than others. And so we all need to continue working on that and working towards collaboration. We need to make sure that when we are making statements, when we are taking votes, that there are not personal vendettas being part of that story. And ultimately, compromise. We really have got to find compromise to bring back to the boardroom.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Mr. Farrell?
So one of the things that I tried to do during my presidency was to rely and educate my fellow board members on Robert's Rules. In fact, we gave a copy of Robert's Rules for Dummies to every board member. And one of the highlights of that is that you comment on the issue, not on the person. And when we get away from that courtesy, that standard of Robert's Rules, we lose our way. I don't think there are outbursts on occasion that people get very passionate about their issues. But if we keep focused on the issue and following good procedure, it doesn't have to get there. It's when we devolve into criticizing each other individually, as opposed to focusing on the issue or the motion that's being presented, that's when things can break down, and it has. I think I've tried when I was president to make sure that didn't happen. I think our current president has worked very hard to modulate that kind of activity.
Mr. Lynch?
I mean, first thing, it begins with personal responsibility. Each member of the board needs to take personal responsibility for how they react to their colleagues, to the way they communicate, the spirit in which they do it. And that's how you have to do it first, right? You model the behavior you want to see in others, and you treat them with mutual respect. On the litigation versus mediation side, I worked for the Maryland Attorney General's office in the Consumer Protection Division, and we mediated everything. And I favor mediation because you may find that you're closer to each other and you're not quite so far apart as you might have originally believed, and you have to really work, and that's what it is. It's work. That's what we're doing here, right? We're a community. We're working. So you want to go to mediation first, litigation last resort. I'm an attorney. I like mediation, right?
Thank you. Ms. Cannon?
Thank you. I think this is another area where I've dealt with this on my own cluster association board. You know, we had a very contentious atmosphere when I started as board president, and we've built really positive relationships and a really positive working structure. I think because we've all come together and tried to approach our conversations as from a shared understanding that we want what's best for our home. And I think that shared understanding really shapes everything. You can disagree with someone, but you can understand that they are still coming from a place where they want what's best for their home. And on the subject of litigation versus mediation, I'll say also an attorney, also favor mediation as a first step, because I think it's important to try and find a compromise first before going directly to an adversarial stance. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Yeah, so, I mean, wow, toxicity on the board is counterproductive. I think, it's clearly a result of like putting personal interest and personal stake before, conscious decision-making. The best thing, the board, they've got a lot of hard decisions. I think extending, the maximum amount of grace to anyone in conflict is your best solution, right? You can't sit there and of course, be strong in your opinions, right? But extend grace. I agree with the rest of them. Mediation, right? And I think it brings to a point. It's very important who you choose as the at-large director. I'm hoping that whoever is chosen is someone who can mediate between the issues as a representative of all of Reston rather than one single district. So yeah, toxicity is terrible. Please invoke grace and mediation for the win. Thanks.
Thank you. So for this next question, we'll start with Ms. Perry. Please explain your knowledge of the budgeting process and how your knowledge will help the board of directors in their deliberations.
Oh, that's a loaded question. I claim to have no knowledge, but I have done it a few years, and there's a lot that goes into it. It is not just here's your $100 and go spend it on groceries, right? Like we have triple RF, we have CARF, we have set asides for things, we have our stream water funds that can only be used in certain ways. So there is a lot that goes into the budget. And I will say that now that we have our CFO in place, he has been a wonderful asset in working with our fiscal committee to provide the first draft that we all look at, we all comment on, and then up until we get to our final draft, which happens over multiple months and iterations. The best thing that I think I bring to the table is just the simple asking questions of our staff and of our CFO and listening to them.
Thank you. Mr. Farrell.
Thanks. There are two pieces of our capital budgeting process. One is personnel, and we really can't get into a lot of details there. We basically set a number, and then the CFO decides how to spend it. That's an example of not getting into the weeds, and that's not a line that we want to cross. The other part is capital expenditures, and over the last several years with the site-specific assessment of all of our facilities, we're now going to be able to have that element of our $23 million budget be relatively flat going forward for the next decade. And that should enable us to have a more flat assessment. Now, the assessment will go up. Inflation forces us to go up. But by having a good capital plan, we just adopted a 10-year capital plan, we should be able to have assessments that are relatively smooth over the next decade.
Thank you. Mr. Lynch.
Oh, sounds like the work's done. I guess we don't do anything for 10 years. What I would say is the budgeting process is always deliberative, but it would be a lot easier if you have more revenue, and that's why I want to diversify our revenue sources so that we have less pressure during that budgeting process each year when it comes around. So strategically, in terms of the budgeting process, I want more revenue streams coming in. I want to be able to work with staff and use their innovative thinking. Winterfest is an example of their innovative thinking, something they brought to the board that the board authorized. I'm told it loses money, but there's an entrepreneurial way to make sure that it begins making money in the long run. But I think it's deliberative. I do know that, and I do know that we have work to do to bring in more revenue streams.
Thank you. Ms. Canna.
Thank you. I've dealt with budgets in my professional career, but I've also dealt with it on a much more personal level here in Reston. Just last week, our community voted to approve our budget for our cluster association. So I understand on a deeply personal level what it means to weigh how we manage aging infrastructure. I live in a 1970s community on Lake Anne with fiscal stewardship, prioritizing ensuring that our assets and our infrastructure is sustained, but we're also using our resources in an efficient and effective manner. I think we need to ensure that our budget process is transparent, that we have sound reserve planning, and that we're an equitable prioritization of our capital projects. Reserve studies provide critical intelligence, but we've also done a deep dive into our infrastructure here and the capital projects that we need to undertake. So letting that guide our budget moving forward, I think, is also important. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips.
As the budgeting process is a messy assembly of good intentions, there is plenty to do, usually not enough time, and the numbers are, in fact, too high. I'll tell you, it does not work well. The job does, in fact, get done. But what doesn't happen, I don't think, is at the end of the road, we are left with a number and a bunch of stats, a bunch of figures on specific funds. But the utility that each dollar is providing to the experience of every member is wholly unclear. And in fact, that is the most important part of the entire budgeting process. So I've dealt with budgets as well in my professional career. Numbers higher, in fact, than 24 million, 23 million. And what I've realized is that the numbers don't matter. It is the process with which, it's the process, but it's also the people you have involved, right? So it all stands to reason that putting the right people on the board couldn't make or break that process altogether. So.
Thank you. Mr. Pardo.
Yeah, it's a good question, and Ms. Cannon brought up a good point about aging infrastructure. I live on Lake Ann Plaza. I've lived there for 30 years. It was the original development for Reston, built in 1963, so I'm familiar with aging infrastructure. I'm actually proud of the recent board of directors. Things are getting fixed, and I've recently taken a more close look at the budget for LARCA. So my approach really with Reston would be to take a look at it from a different perspective, really, a new set of eyes, a fresh look at it. But I would lean heavily on staff, the CEO, CPAs, whoever's on staff that's working the budget. I would lean on them, and I think I would just kind of take a higher level look and ask questions, give my perspective on the budget.
Thank you.
Okay, and for our final question, Mr. Farrell, you'll start with this one. As stated in the Reston Deeds of Dedication, a primary purpose of the association is to, quote, conserve, protect, and enhance the value of all real property subject to the deed, end quote. What do you consider to be the greatest threat to our collective property values?
I think the greatest threat to the property values in Reston today, it would be residential redevelopment of either golf course. At the proposals that I've seen would have multi-story, multifamily buildings being constructed between the existing townhouses and the golf course. In exchange for agreeing to that, the owner of that property said, well, I'll give you a conservation easement. But the impact on the townhouses that surround the golf course would be enormous. Some estimates say that there would be a $40 million loss in value. Well, we can't ask those members to put up with that loss in asset value. So we have to be opposed to residential redevelopment of Reston National Golf Course. How that plays out, there are many chapters left to go in that saga. But we cannot give up that kind of value for the people who live around the golf course, in particular Reston National.
Thank you. Mr. Lynch?
Mr. Farrell is correct with regard to what we can't do. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is our relationships with the county and the state and all of the stakeholders who are around. The board has to have good relationships. We can't be dysfunctional. We can't be bullies. We can't be threatening litigation. We can't be, going around annexing properties and telling them you're going to pay us $800 or whatever now. We have to be collaborative. We have to rebuild those relationships. And that's the key, because right now, we don't have the authority to do the things we want to do, to protect things the way in which we want to protect them. So we have to rely on others to do it, other key stakeholders. We have to go to them, build that relationship, have the conversations, have mutual trust, respect, and that's how we do it. Our biggest problem is what I'm hearing from the community and from those presidents who are endorsing me is that we don't have that right now. And I'm going to bring that. That's my background. I'm a middle child. I'm an attorney. I have it from the professional side and just from growing up in hard knocks life as a middle child. So that's our biggest challenge. That's what we need to do, rebuild those relationships. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lynch. Ms. Cannon?
Thank you. I agree that I think the threat of development on our golf courses is the biggest threat to property values in Reston. Even if you're not a golfer, the golf courses provide significant value to the Reston community. They serve as a green buffer, they limit density and development pressure on our surrounding neighborhoods. They also provide stormwater absorption and management functions that protect our lakes and our streams. They support a wildlife habitat and tree canopy, and they do maintain the property values for the adjacent communities. They contribute to the open park-like character that makes Reston feel so distinctive. The green spaces are one of the reasons I chose to move to Reston. So I think developing them would fundamentally alter the feel of our community. Once that land is gone, it's gone, and so we have to prioritize and protect it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
I would love to talk about golf right now. But, the budgetary process, so what the value, right? So the biggest price we'll pay in terms of community value is going to be fiscal mismanagement. Well, two things. Fiscal mismanagement from the board itself or from the association, and the second would probably be not growing, right? So we can't stay stagnant. We need to bring in some new members, but I mean, that just means we need to incentivize new membership. We need to grow what's available and what the board is providing. So.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Pardo?
Yeah, it's a good question. In my profession, property values are quite important. I would say what's most detrimental at a high level is overdevelopment, really, whether it be the golf courses, a casino, overdevelopment of the Dulles corridor. I think all of those in any given term is detrimental to the harmony that we have here in Reston. So I think, collectively, any sort of overdevelopment would be detrimental long-term to the property values and the values that we hold close to us.
Thank you. Ms. Perry?
So I appreciate what has already been said by everyone on this panel, and I cannot disagree with any of them on any specific level. But honestly, the biggest collective property value threat is us as Reston Association members. We don't educate ourselves enough. We don't pay attention to the budget enough. We don't speak up in the right forums to have our voices heard, to have our voices acknowledged. I can't tell you how many times there are people who have absolute hardcore thoughts on our budget on Facebook, but won't show up at a budget meeting, won't show up at a board meeting, won't show up in the places that can make those voices and opinions matter. We have one of the lowest assessment rates for what we offer of any homeowners association in the probably next 3 or 4 states. We have tremendous value, and we can offer that to new members, but by gosh, we as Reston Association members need to stand up and cheer for what we have. And when you want to make it better, make your voice heard in a forum where it can do good.
Thank you, Ms. Perry.
As we approach the conclusion of this evening's forum, I want to thank the audience for your thoughtful attention and the candidates for their participation and engagement. If there are remaining questions that were not addressed tonight, we encourage members to contact the candidates directly using the email addresses available on the screen at www.reston.org and in the ballot guides that will accompany the ballots. Now, each candidate will have 2 minutes for closing remarks. We will begin with at-large candidate Dayton Lynch.
Thank you. Reston was founded on a clear vision: shared amenities, environmental stewardship, and community responsibility. That vision only works when governance works. We must confront dysfunction directly. Meetings should start on time, end on time, and stay focused. Our discussion should be disciplined, strategic, and respectful. And we must present a clear, consistent voice in how we report, deliberate, and make decisions. We are stewards of a multi-million-dollar organization. Members deserve clarity, professionalism, and results. I'm proud to have the endorsement of 5 past Reston Association presidents. Their confidence means a great deal to me. But even more important than that is I'd be honored to have the vote of everyone who's listening here tonight, and even your neighbors, if they're not listening, tell them to vote for Dayton Lynch, at-large director. Thank you. Thank you to the panel.
Thank you. Ms. Cannon?
Thank you to my fellow candidates for participating. This was a really great conversation. And thank you to all of you for watching, whether you're in the room or watching online. It's really important that we have this community involvement and community interest. If elected, I would focus on 3 main priorities: protecting and maintaining amenities and infrastructure, our pools, our pathways, our green spaces, and our lakes; responsible fiscal stewardship; and ensure environmental sustainability becomes a standard lens for every major RA decision, not just an afterthought. I love this community and I want to serve it well. So I'm asking for your vote and to have your neighbors vote for me. I will prioritize community communication. I know that good governance is built on relationships and trust, not just good ideas. I'll work with my fellow board members. I'll build coalitions to achieve my goals, and I will serve Reston well. Good representation starts with listening, and that's a commitment I take seriously, and that's one I'm making to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Well, I thank all of you for your attention this evening, and thank you all for coming out. And those who are watching live, thank you for tuning in, and thank you to the board for hosting us. What I'll say is that, yes, indeed, it was a great conversation. The Reston members are spoiled for choice. Georgina is a fantastic candidate. She's very well qualified. Mr. Pardo is equally qualified. He has an immense background, a great family story. He's lived in Lake Ann forever. I don't think that there's a bad choice. And so I thank you for your consideration. Now, I bring several great ideas, I hope, to the table. One of those is not that the Reston Association Board of Directors is the host and forum of the Reston HOA mothership. We're not, right? I think that there is a certain degree of cooperation and work to be done with each of the HOAs and each of the clusters. But the board, I expect, should be a great resource for them. So thank you all for your vote, and I hope that I hope everyone gets out next month for the election.
Thank you. Mr. Pardo?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody here for having me and listening to everything I have to say. In closing, I want to say this. Reston has given so much to me and my family over the past 5 decades. With 4 generations of my family living here, this community is not just where I reside, it's part of who I am. My service on the Reston Design Review Board and my work bringing neighbors together through Reggae on the Lake reflect my commitment to preserving what makes Reston special while strengthening the connections that make it thrive. I'm running because I believe leadership should be accessible, transparent, and grounded in listening. I'm ready to dedicate the time, energy, and thoughtful consideration this role requires. Most importantly, I'm here to serve you, to be your voice, to hear your concerns, to help guide our community forward responsibly and respectfully. I truly appreciate your vote and the opportunity to serve. Thanks again.
Thank you. Ms. Perry.
As we wrap up tonight, I want to address the why behind my service. Like most of my fellow board members, I juggle a full-time job and my family, which includes 3 children, 2 teens still at home. There are times when my kids ask me why I keep putting myself out there for a position that doesn't pay a dime. And my answer is simple, because I care. We are a community of neighbors, and we deserve a board that reflects that. I am committed to a culture of civility, fiscal realism, and professional respect for our staff. I want a board that is willing to compromise, respect boundaries, and focus on our community's needs rather than personal grievances. I will tell you, Reston Association, we're a wonderful place. Can we do better? 100%. But we do not need to burn this house down in the process. While my seat specifically represents the apartment owners, the decisions we make as a board impact every member of the Reston Association. I remain dedicated to being accessible to everyone for your questions and concerns. I want to thank the Reston Association staff, the Elections Committee, and everyone watching for your commitment to our future. I encourage every member to stay engaged and, most importantly, please vote.
Thank you. Mr. Farrell.
Let me join my fellow candidates in thanking the Elections Committee and the people who are here tonight and who are watching remotely. I wish tonight we had had a chance to talk about what's going to happen to the Central Green at Reston Town Center North. It's a major gathering place that this organization actually wound up suing the county in order to preserve 10 acres of open space that would be available to all of us. How that property gets used in the future is going to be resolved over the next year to 18 months. And in informing that, recall the community organizing effort that was made by one of my predecessors to induce 400 people to contact the supervisor's office to say that Reston National should be kept and have a comprehensive plan designation as a commercial recreational space. That designation is essential to the preservation of that space. I don't know that that would have happened without that organizing of that voice of the people. And I think that one of the things we need to do going forward as a board is to leverage the voice of 63,000 members to let all of the entities that have been talked about tonight know what the membership wants. We know what they want. We did a professional survey. We had over 1,700 answers to that survey. We don't have to guess. Look at this professionally conducted survey. We had 5 times more people respond to that survey than is necessary for it to be a statistically relevant exercise. We know what our membership wants, and we should be delivering it to them and asking them to help us get the things that they want. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrow. And thank you all for attending this evening. We're really appreciative for everyone that's here and everyone that is online. Voting begins on Friday, February 27th at 5 p.m. Please remember that ballots must be received to our new counting agent, e-ballot, no later than 5 p.m. on Tuesday, March 31st. Members may vote either online or by mail. And if you require a replacement ballot, please contact the counting agent, and we'll have the number. Is it up there? Yes, there it is. 866-984-3125. And they also have an email, which is help@eballot.com. You can also reach out to the Elections Committee, and we'll get you there too. Thank you again, and have a wonderful evening.